Starfield is a game that offers a diverse range of options to make money. Some track bounties, others steal, and some run contraband. But for each job out there, none has piqued my interest more than being a ship repo man in Starfield. But for that, you need to know the tools of the trade, which is why I'll be sharing exactly how to do that. And if you're doing it for sport, I'll tell you how to spot the best targets. And let's face it, there are multiple reasons to board other ships, such as hostage bounty missions, or perhaps you want to capture the contraband, gain extra experience by taking out a crew of highly trained fighters, or own that shiny ship you definitely can't afford to buy. Regardless, here's the guide that will point you to all the information you need for boarding and capturing the enemy's ships. Firstly, if you want to capture an enemy ship without relying solely on the chance of destroying your enemy's engines, you'll need to at least put one skill point into targeting ship systems. This will allow us to target ships' engines and is the most important part of boarding a ship. Without it, your weapons will track the center of mass of the enemy ship, making it very difficult to destroy a module, though it is possible. And I must admit now, doing this guide, it does leave me really wanting the ability to choose whether to use auto track or not in game. I mean, why can't we just choose to manually shoot it like when they're boosting away from us? But if you are wanting to do this for a mission to get extra credits, such as the Free Rangers hostage release, you'll need to find a mission terminal to find your target. In order to gain access to the missions, you'll need to do the first hostage release mission at the Bank of a Killer, which starts when you visit a killer for the first time. The hostage missions are pretty easy to spot in the computer, and you'll usually find one available every day. If you've done all the hostage missions or destroy missions, just choose to wait a day and they should be back. Now, it wouldn't surprise me also if the Crimson Fleet have a similar mission for pirating, but I've yet to start that quest line, so do let me know in the comments below if that is the case. Now, with the mission in hand, your second step is to grab an EM weapon for your ship. Without this, you'll make it particularly hard and run the risk of destroying the ship you're wanting to board. Though if you can't afford one, do not worry. Make sure to have at least a laser, as this will do less damage to the hull, allowing you the opportunity to incapacitate the enemy ship. However, as it does more hull damage than an EM weapon, if you're not careful, this can still destroy the target before you get a chance to board, so you have to be careful with it. Now, if you do grab an EM weapon, you'll only need one. Same with the lasers, actually. They're also very easy to spot, as they have the word suppressor in the name for the EM weapons. You can cycle and just add whichever one is available for your class of ship. But once you've added your EM weapon and given it a weapon slot, your ships are ready to head off to the target. By the way, if you are struggling with shipbuilding, have no fear. I have just done an in-depth guide on exactly that, and we'll place a link to the video in the cards, which can be found by clicking the description of this video and scrolling to the bottom. Now, once your ships are ready to go to space, I do recommend balancing out your power. Normally, I keep my EM weapon slot empty of power until it's needed, allowing me to max power in shields, primary weapons and engines for maneuverability in combat. Once the ship battle begins, you'll need to take out the enemies or target ships, shields. This can be done with the primary weapon. At this point, you're ready to max out the power in your EM's weapon slot, and I recommend keeping behind the enemy ship as much as possible at this point to reduce taking damage. And from here, we're going to press R to activate the targeting systems skill, and then use the left and right arrow keys on PC to direct your weapon focus on the engine, which you can see is abbreviated to ENG. You'll see the engine power slots will slowly start to go offline as you do damage to it. And if you don't have an EM weapon, this is when you need to be using your laser-based weapons. In fact, you can use your lasers for the shield as well, because they'll do extra damage to that. But these will eat at the entire hull of the ship, and risk destroying it. So only shoot when you are targeting the engine system. Once the target's engines are offline, you'll be able to dock with it, providing there's no other ships in the area. If the docking prompt isn't available for some reason, make sure that you're within 500 meters of the ship, and again that the engine is offline by retargeting it, because the target's modules will slowly repair until you board the ship or you destroy the target. But now that you have docked, you can board the ship. Just make sure that you've got a weapon handy. Generally, when you board an enemy ship, it's pretty simple. You work your way through the ship, killing every crew member. You'll also want to grab any contraband that you see, though this is normally found on Crimson Fleet ships. You may find it on others as well. Once you've killed all crew members, you'll be able to sit in the cockpit to take over the ship, and doing so and leaving the system will make the ship your primary ship, and your previous ship will return to your fleet page ready for you to select again. If you've done a particularly heavy amount of damage to the target, you may face a more challenging battle as you'll be flying through the ship in 0G combat. It looks great but can be frustrating on larger ships when firing your gun pushes you backwards, especially if the enemy's a turret and not moving. It also makes it more difficult to spot any contraband, so make sure that you're using your scanner in between the bouts of fighting to try and find where that is. Now, if you are wanting to make money from the captured ship, you can now fly it back to a starport to register. This costs between 80 and 90% of the total price and allows you to sell it at a 10 to 20% profit. Just be aware that you can't have contraband on you or you'll risk getting caught. However, it is often better to keep the ship rather than sell it for parts, as the reason for this is parts tend to cost more than the actual worth of the ship. So if you're going to be using them for a future ship, it's probably going to be beneficial not to sell them. This is especially true if you spot a better ship. But how can you spot a better ship? Well, larger ships generally have more loot available, especially on harder difficulties. However, you'll want to keep an eye out for the Roman numerals at the end of ships' names when targeting them. A ship with II after them is the second variant of the ship and generally has better components, and if you see higher variants, then that's even better. Now, if you have the scanning skill unlocked, you'll also be able to see various information about the ship by pressing F and bringing up the scanner. Currently, I can see the worth of the cargo. This makes pirating easier, and at higher levels you'll have more information available too. But there are a few ways in which you can optimize this system to make the most money doing it. So if that is something that interests you, I do recommend checking out my video on getting rich fast in Starfield next. Alternatively, you can join me in my stream on twitch.tv/Totalxclipse, as I'll be streaming this afterwards. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and thank you so much to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, notably our Solo Clips patrons, James Owen, Firefless and Treble, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben, Star, and That Dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the Day, which today is Dashlom. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.